Grief isn't just about death. It's also about mourning a loss of anything in life that is deemed important. Whether it's a life-threatening illness or any other traumatic experience, a person can also grieve that. Welcome, everyone. I'm Tiffany, your Love Letter to Grief podcast host. If this is your first time here, please hit the follow button. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. Today we have with us Nya, a live streamer and a social media influencer whose grief journey is a bit different because no one passed away, but she was in a near-death accident. Nya, good afternoon. First, I'd like to say how big of an honor it is to have you as a guest. I understand that this love letter to grief may be a little difficult, but I do appreciate you for accepting the invitation in hopes that your story can help someone else that's going through something similar. How are you?
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you for having me. I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm doing great. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start your love letter to grief.
Dear Grief, on March 11th, 2021, I was hit by a drunk driver going over 100 miles on a residential street. I should have died, but God decided it wasn't my time. Instead, I shattered my pelvis, broke my arm, my leg, and tore all the ligaments in my knee. That day, my life came to a complete stop. How could this happen to me? I asked. Why did this happen to me? Why did I not see it coming? My life as I knew it ended that day. Pain was my new friend and has stuck beside me ever since. A life that was once filled with impulsivity and limitlessness was now replaced with fear and limitations. I couldn't move. I woke up in the ER alone, afraid and in excruciating pain. How could I let this happen? I spent every minute trying to relive what happened, but I couldn't remember. I couldn't even see my loved ones because of COVID. I spent months alone, crying myself to sleep, wishing the sweet release of death. Because the pain was too much. I spent months hating you for what you did to me, because all you left the accident with was a broken leg. I didn't appreciate the life I had had, and because I failed to be present, always looking towards the next bend, it was almost taken from me. I blamed you for everything that came next. Recovery was so hard. I sucked the life out of everyone around me, and ultimately, it ended my relationship. I blamed you for the year-long depression and the PTSD I faced every day. I couldn't understand why I couldn't get back to the woman I once was. It took a very long time to come to terms with the fact that she was gone and I would never be her again. My fearless nature had been replaced with a yellow caution sign: fall risk. I was at risk of falling, and I did fall. I fell into a deep depression, into deep insecurity, and into deep despair. Death is inevitable, and nothing lasts forever. I keep that with me now. I'm on the other side of the prism. I don't view life the same anymore. I can't. I found power when I finally forgave you, because it wasn't you who did this to me. I did this to me. I wasn't paying attention to the life I had. I was always moving forward, never actually living. I was thankful but never actually grateful. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And even though broken, the pieces have made an even more beautiful picture with a more sound structure. I'm always going to stay fighting.
Wow. Just listening to your love letter was very powerful, and I really appreciate you for sharing that. You said a lot that I feel like will resonate with a lot of people, because I feel like when it comes to grief, we often think about the after. And I loved how you talked about how you were someone different before. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how this near death experience changed you?
Um, I think that it made me cautious. It made me a little bit more um, considerate to consequences. I used to live um, kind of recklessly. I took a lot of risks. I took a lot of chances. I was blessed that most of those risks and chances led to great outcomes, but they were definitely, um, you know, reckless. Um, so I think that post the car accident, I'm definitely more um, deliberate with how I live my life. And I choose my, you know, actions and my thoughts and my words very um, cautiously. I'm very, yeah, I think the word of the day is cautious. Just a very
Mhm.
cautious person now. Um, and like I said, I take time to be more present, which I think is the biggest gift that surviving taught me was that, you know, I have to learn to be more present in, in life. So,
Yeah. So my book is titled "Love Letter to Grief: Learning to Walk by Faith," and I know that you had to completely learn how to rewalk. So, how was your faith journey before this accident, during, and after?
I have always had a strong relationship with God. Um, Faith was something that came rather easily to me all my life. I definitely struggled with having faith that everything would be okay. I had to lean into so many others around me during my recovery. Um, I don't think I ever lost my faith, but it was definitely moments of struggle where I just didn't know if I could hang on anymore. It was really hard. So, but my faith has been strengthened because I found power in the Lord. I don't know who else it could have been. He carried me through when I couldn't. So I have a renewed, strengthened faith in God that He always has my back and He will always make, we will always make it through.
Yeah. I had a cousin that she was born with sickle cell, and she was always very sick. And I remember this was actually during COVID as well. Well, it was a year before COVID that she got really sick. And the doctors basically told us, she was not going to make it. And they told us, we should just start praying and preparing. And I remember texting people in my circle and just saying, guys, I need you guys to pray for me, because she was one of my closest cousins. We called each other twin. And I remember just thinking to myself, there's no way I can handle losing her. And we prayed, and God did give us more time with her. And there was a moment for us that I felt like just that extra time where we were told one thing and something was different. So, with you being in a near death experience, in a near death accident, and I'm sure your family has probably talked to you about this, how they felt thinking that there's a possibility they could have lost you and not having that be the reality. How did that change your relationship with your family and friends?
I was a social butterfly. I've always been a social butterfly. I've always surrounded myself around a lot of people, and have always been the friend. I've always been the person people could turn to in their moments of, distress or anxiety or whatever. And I think going through this experience, the people who showed up for me, they can never leave me at this point. We're stuck together for life. Um, it changed how I see my family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there were some people in my family that definitely showed up for me more than others. And for those, it definitely strengthened our relationships. It also did make me look at certain parts of my relationship with certain parts of my family, um, under kind of more of like a microscope,
Mm-hmm.
because I think in my head I thought the fact that I did die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that it would have a changing effect on maybe some of the relationships with certain family members that aren't that strong, and it didn't.
Mm.
It didn't have an effect on the relationship. Maybe for a little bit there was a little bit of a change, but nothing that lasted very long. And so that has always that's been a very interesting insight that I think I've
Mm-hmm.
learned, is that if even if people are in your family, doesn't mean that they're going to be the strong suit that you need, or the shoulder to lean on that you necessarily
Mm-hmm.
need. Family comes in all different forms and fashion. Um, but yeah, I think for the people that were there for me, I have an everlasting bond, a trauma bond, I think is what the kids are calling it
Yeah.
this year now. But yeah, I think that, yeah, and those bonds, as dramatic or um, um, exaggerated as they might seem, like, I see why people get bonded for life. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, and I don't think that anything could ever break a friendship once you go through like the depths of hell and come out on
Yeah.
the other side. So,
And just talking about the depths of everything that you went through, I know with your grief, we've talked about it a little bit just on stream. I know that you talked about your grief and how heavy it was because you talked about having some really, really dark moments. Do you want to talk a little bit more about just like the depression that this accident caused for you and how you were able to pull yourself out of it?
I was a very active person. I was a registered nurse. I taught spin. I had led a very active lifestyle. I was always outside hiking or traveling, swimming, so many different things that when you shatter your pelvis, you're no longer able to participate in. And I've had so much residual pain and inflammation, and, just going through, something as traumatic as that. It's obviously has like, I hope not lasting effects, but it still
Mm-hmm.
has residual effects since it's only been 3 years since the accident. Um, and it took a toll on me mentally. I hate that I've been bound to such limitations now. I still haven't gotten over it.
Mm-hmm.
I miss not thinking things through and just saying, you know what, this feels right. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to live on so much intuition, and my intuition, for the most part, never really failed me. I did a lot
Mm-hmm.
of, like I said, risky things in life, but all the risk I've taken, for the most part, never led me anywhere that I couldn't see myself out of.
Yeah.
So, But now I would say that I'm overly cautious. I overly critique. I get lost in my own thoughts. And so, and I think adulting has taught me that I think is where depression lies, is when we get lost in our own thoughts and we allow things to crowd the space that should be there, that should be left for creativity and love and all of the positive things. And so when you allow negative thoughts to creep in and take space, uh, and then there's the outside parts where like the pain and the just the not wanting to do things because it's just why, right? I had to shake it. I had to shake it. I had to shake it. One day I just woke up and I was like, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to turn into a shrew or, a dog lady or anything to that nature. I want to make sure that, I'm still young. I want to live a life of love and of, and more importantly, I don't want to be what's happened to me. I think a lot of times when things happen to people,
Mm-hmm.
they become that. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be, oh, that's that girl that was in the car accident and almost died. Like, I don't want that to be my narrative at all. It's something that happened to me and it's something that I bounce back from and it's in the past. And I really want to forget about it. Honestly, I want to be move on and not have any kind of claim to my life. So, yeah, one day I decided that I was going to get back to being who the best version of myself that I can be, whether and better than who the
Mm-hmm.
person was before, like yes, the accident changed the trajectory of my life, but that doesn't mean I can't live a fantastic
Absolutely.
life, So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I decided that I need to focus. Like, what now? What am I going to do now? Like, if I'm not doing what I was doing, there's a million other things I can do. So I'm excited. I'm trying to turn anxiety into excitement and just be, present and enjoy the ride. I think
I
that
love
that's
that.
the one I really need to focus on doing is just enjoying every day and just being happy that I woke up.
Yeah. I love that. You said you wanted to turn your anxiety into excitement. So I know that you talked briefly about you were in a relationship and that kind of changed. How are you feeling now as far as being optimistic about love again? Is that something that you're on a journey of right now, or just you're more so focused on yourself?
Um, I am definitely optimistic about love again. I've spent the last few years focusing on myself, and I don't think that that ever changes, right? Even when you're in a relationship, I think the
Mm-hmm.
focus should always be on yourself, and that's another thing that I am going to do more of is focus on myself and make sure that I always present myself as healed first before anything else. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that, every day is just, another day to make sure that I take care of myself, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I just want to be a better person so that the next time I do find myself in a relationship, I can not only appreciate the relationship, but, you know, be present in it
Mm-hmm.
and, grow in it. I think, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a space where I can really grow and express myself to the fullest. And so yes, that's what I'm looking for. I think moving forward when it comes to love, I'm not just looking to be with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm learning to love the silence. I'm learning to love the solitude, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's nice here.
Yeah. You mentioned taking care of yourself, and I know you and how much you love your self care. So you actually have a show where you talk about self care and the importance of it. Um, why is self care so important to you in this journey and where you are right now?
Self care has always been important to me. Before the accident, I think that we don't, everyone, men, women, we don't spend enough time actually caring for ourselves. I think that as lives and people become important to you, no matter what their title holds, it just takes away from you, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
just, especially as women, we tend to want to take care of everyone else and not ourselves. I think prioritizing self care, specific types of self care, like hygiene, like skin regimens, like hair regimens, just remind you every single day that you are worthy of being loved, and that it really starts with yourself, anyways, right? Like, you can't find someone who's going to love you more than you love yourself. You're never going to, and I think that for whatever reason, there's a fairy tale that society has put that, like, oh, your significant other. No, you have to be your first significant other. You have to love yourself first before someone can love you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And before you can love them, they have to be able to love themselves also. So I think doing little things, no matter how medial they seem, like brushing your teeth, like, washing your face, it's just these little tiny acts show and, represent that you love yourself, and that you care for yourself, and I think other people will pick up, do not even will, they do pick up those little notes, and they're like, oh, someone who brushes their teeth, nice. Someone who, like, has nice skin, somebody who takes a moment to ground themselves and, maybe meditate. Like, these are little things that just make you a better person. It just adds to the beautiful picture, that you are. And it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good when you come out the shower, you're clean, and you spray something on yourself and you smell good. And then maybe when you're walking past someone, someone's like, oh, wow, you smell really nice. Oh, you know, it's
Yeah.
great. It's a great, great feeling. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that you mentioned that because I know for me, and I've talked to a lot of people that are early in their grief journey, and we often talk about just how sometimes it's the smallest thing that you can do to get yourself out of your funk. And I know for me, there was those days where I would be laying in bed and I would just be sobbing, and I would just say to myself, just at least get up and take a shower. And that
Right.
sounds like to the a regular person that's never grieved, that sounds like such a simple thing. But to
Right.
someone that is so heavy in their grief and depression and the anxiety and all the emotions that losing something significant to you causes, those little moments of self care are so important.
So
And I would find
important.
myself trying to do self care things, just take a moment to just breathe. Like you said, meditate. Just sit with yourself and just get up and do something so small so at least you can say, okay, I didn't do great today, but I did at least shower.
I did something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's very important.
Huge. I think people don't understand the importance of self care until they can't do it.
Mm,
I had a shattered pelvis. I couldn't wash my hair. I couldn't, and a broken arm. I couldn't. I had to wear a wig and lashes until the doctor was able to, like, take them off for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't do it myself. I couldn't take a bath for. I didn't take a bath for 3 months
wow.
because I couldn't. They wiped me down for 3 months.
Mm.
Yuck.
Yeah.
And it was
One of
torturous.
your favorite words.
It
That's what we're going to
was,
start saying to grief. Yuck. But that
uh,
that makes perfect sense. You say you don't realize how important these things are until you can't do them. And I agree because there were those moments where I literally couldn't even imagine lifting my head, let alone combing my hair. I couldn't
right.
imagine getting a foot out of bed, let alone putting lotion on my leg. You know what I'm saying? So
But
I agree with that.
the euphoric sensation and or relief, I guess is a better way to put, that comes after you do, even if it's just like a little bit, you
Mm-hmm.
feel a little bit better when that water touches your skin and you can wash yourself. And even if it's just a little bit, it helps.
Yeah.
Like I said, every little bit helps. and adds to the bigger picture. And today you were able to get a little bit of shower. Tomorrow you might be able to comb your hair. You know what I'm saying? But every little bit eventually helps. I remember they finally took the wig off while I was in the hospital, and I had to bonnet it for obviously like the rest of my recovery. And then finally when I moved to rehab, to finally be able to move and stuff, my mom was able to get me a new wig, and I felt like a brand new girl, you know what I'm saying? And just even that little sensation boosted me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a morale booster. In the
Yeah.
moments when we don't think anything is going to boost any kind of serotonin within us. And so yeah, it's so important. And I like I said, I like that is why self-care has become such a huge movement for me, because it's like I said, it's such a common thing, or at least like it's like common sense. We think that it's such a common thing. It's really not as much as we would like it to be. It's really not. And so I have no problem reminding people the importance of, doing little things, because like you said, when we're in the depths of grief, we don't remember. We don't remember like, maybe if I like go sit on the grass, it's gonna make me feel better. Maybe if I
Yeah.
put my feet into some water, it's gonna help. We don't. We just want to
Yeah.
be sad. What
Right.
we're wrapped up in the darkness. And so, yeah, I love self care. I love this platform I've built for that, because it helps me
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah. And
Along
I
my own journey. So
right. I think, and I just hearing you talk about that, I got goosebumps because even though it seems like such a simple thing, me putting myself back into like the very beginning of those stages, I wish I heard that from somebody then. Because and I pray that someone is listening to this and they're in one of those moments where they haven't gotten out of bed, and just listening to your voice and hearing how calming it is, and just reminding yourself to take care of yourself. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture. It doesn't have to be some spa experience, or you spending tons of money. It could just be the most simple things that we need to do to take care of ourselves. So I pray if whoever's listening, if they take nothing else from this, we've got to take care of ourselves for
yeah,
sure.
I have a motto that me and my dad started during recovery, and it's always fighting. I say it to myself
Mm,
on the days when I wake up still till this day with a swollen ankle, or my heart's racing, and I'm like, because I have a couple blood clots in my body, and I'm like, okay, is this the one I'm supposed to be worried about? Or you have to just you have to do it. You have to always fight. If
yeah,
you're alive, baby, you just gotta fight. You gotta fight through it. You got
yeah,
to. So that is what I hope that people take away from my letter to grief, because I did. I had to fight through it all. I didn't die. And sometimes people don't understand that that's sometimes the easier option. Surviving is so much tougher. So, but you, just like I, can get through it, and
yeah.
just gotta keep on.
I think that's just a powerful word in itself as well, just surviving. Because there's a lot of people that may be going through grief and they're just trying to figure out what am I supposed to do? What now? And I think that is just the most powerful thought is just survive
Survive.
through the next second, through the next minute, the next hour. Just simply survive until you get to a
It
point
gets
where you can
easier.
do a little more.
It gets easier. It doesn't feel like it will.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought that I would get here. I knew, I hoped, I wished, but like it yeah. When you're in the depths of it, it doesn't think you don't think it's ever gonna go away, it's ever gonna end. But one day it gets a little lighter, and
Yeah.
then it gets a little lighter, and then it gets a little lighter, and then you smile, and then you
Mm-hmm.
laugh, and then you smile again, and then you realize that, oh wow, it's becoming a memory. So
Wow.
I'll get through it.
I love that. For me, I was always a journaler. I always loved writing. It was just so therapeutic for me. I have a love letter to grief journal available on Amazon. And the reason I wanted to do the journal is because I remember how in the beginning stages I felt exactly like you just explained, how it felt so heavy, like it wasn't going to get better. And by me writing down my thoughts and putting a date and time on it, I could look back at that letter 6 months later, even when I'm feeling like I haven't made any growth. And I would read those letters and I would be like, wow, it has gotten lighter and it is getting better. It is getting easier. And so I think sometimes just writing it down, even if it's just grabbing your phone and typing something in your notes, just so you have something just to read back to remember where you were, to be able to appreciate where you are now. Did you ever do any journaling, or how did you keep track of what you were going through?
So I've always been a content creator. I've always taken videos and pictures of myself since become joining social media and
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting into content creation. So I definitely have like a bunch of videos.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was the one who suggested that I create some kind of visual representation of my journey through recovery. I really didn't want to do it. He said that it would be a tool for not only me but other people who are going through the same thing, who need a little bit of motivation. So I created that kind of as a video journal to myself. I shared it on my TikTok and on my social media platforms. But other than that, no, I never journaled until I decided to write my love letter to grief. And that was the first time ever writing down my thoughts. It was the first time ever trying to find closure to what had happened to me. I didn't realize I carried it with me until I wrote those thoughts and feelings down and then shared them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny that you said what you said. The first time I shared my letter with you, I was very emotional, extremely emotional. This time when I shared it, I was definitely, there were definitely twinges of emotion for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but it was much easier to relay my emotions and my thoughts than it was the first time. And
Right.
so even within that is kind of huge for me
Mm-hmm.
because I have finally gotten that closure that I needed, and I'm now slowly starting to truly like just grow and elevate from it. I feel I feel like life is hard, and I just I'm not like a journal person, um, but I do appreciate having the opportunity to you know write my experience down. I think that for people who are into that, more of like a visual learner or visual receiver, then they definitely should do something to that extent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the love letter to grief is probably going to be my only journal entry.
Yeah. I remember the first time you read it to me, we both cried. And I was
Yeah,
thinking the same thing when you were reading it. And I was like, this is why I encourage people to write, because it does show you such growth.
it does.
And it does,
It,
because,
it was the best therapy I think I've ever gotten, honestly.
mm-hmm.
And I don't do therapy, so but it was it was a closure that I needed that I didn't realize I needed. So
Mm-hmm.
for that, I'm forever grateful
Yeah.
to you.
Everything you've said, I feel like has been so inspiring. Just being able to, as a person that's been through so much grief and so much loss, just hearing your story, knowing that you are so close to that exact thing, but on the other side of it, is just, it's motivating and it's very inspiring. So I know that there's people that are listening that are going through super dark moments and maybe traumatic experiences. And I pray that something you've said today touches them and reminds them that they're bigger than what they're going through and that they can get through it and that it will get easier and it will get lighter. Is there anything that you'd like to say just to a survivor that may be early in their journey? Is there anything that you can share with them?
Shout out to you. You know, shout out to you. Um, Congratulations for still being here. And don't give in. Don't give in to the darkness. That's it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, guys, I pray that today's episode, Love Letter to Grief, even though it's a little different from what we're used to hearing, I recognize the responsibility that I have to make sure that we reach as many hearts as possible. And I don't want us to get in the mindset of thinking that a person that has not experienced a death cannot grieve. I know for me personally, when I first lost my husband, I remember I would hear women talking that were going through divorce and they would say, "Oh, I feel like I'm going through a death." And I would always get so insulted because I was thinking on more of a personal, selfish level. And I used to feel like, no, like grief is, it's sacred. They can't claim this. They can't claim this feeling because they have no idea what they're talking about. But just in talking with you and learning about your story and hearing your love letter to grief, I want us to be more mindful that grief is so much more than what we think it is. And just to be kind to one another because you never know what someone's going through. You may see someone on social media and think, "Oh, they're just posting just to be posting, or they just want attention," or you never know the story behind somebody's smile. Like, I know you post on social media a lot and I always comment on it because I love your content. And to someone who doesn't understand your story, it's not just about posting. It's about you making the decision that you're going to, like you say, you're not going to be known only as the girl who almost died in a car accident. So I want to encourage people to be okay with living in the moment and taking up the space and being present, posting the content, being a part of those core memories, because it may not make sense at the time, but it's going to make sense to someone because there's such a bigger picture always than us. And so I love that you're out here living out loud and allowing others to be a part of your story and your journey, because it does show that you're a survivor, but it also encourages other people that we may not even know are trying to survive. And so I commend you for that because I appreciate everything that you've been doing with this. And I know that you mentioned that your father encouraged you to keep videos and document it. And so I would love for anyone that's listening that wants to watch your story, they can connect with you on your social media platforms. Do you mind sharing that with us so they can connect on it?
Sure, yeah. I have a Instagram, TikTok, and you can find me at Tantric Lova. That's Tantric Lova, Lova. Yeah. I'm also on Facebook, obviously, too. But I post mostly on my TikTok and my Instagrams.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
Guys, I'm telling you, she is, like I say, when I say social media influencer, I love, like I say, I love that you live out loud. I love that you post it because, like I always tell people, even if it seems silly, post it because those memories are, there's something to always have to look back on. And God forbid today that we're no longer here. We have such an opportunity to leave behind such a footprint in the world through social media. So I love that you post and continue to do that. Even if someone
Thank
else
you.
is like thinking like, wow, she posts a lot, post more. Post the content.
I
So I really
will.
appreciate that. So just
Yeah.
in closing, is there anything else that you wanted to share with any survivors or just, more about you and what you've gone through?
Um, just trust the process, you know, do the steps like they say, I guess, in like alcoholic
Yeah.
recovery rehab. Trust the process, go through the steps. It's gonna hurt, it's gonna be long, it's gonna be tedious, it's gonna be painful, but you can do it, you know. And like we were saying earlier, one day it's gonna kind of dissipate, you know, and you pay attention because you're gonna be like, whoa, today I didn't wake up in as much pain as I normally do, or today I didn't need to take the pills, you know, or today I didn't need to, you know, or today, physical therapy wasn't as painful,
Hmm.
and then one day you don't need to go to physical therapy anymore, but keep going to physical therapy. That's actually one thing I'll say. Keep going. Even when they tell you to stop going, keep going. Or maybe start yoga, or, you know, do something to keep going. Do something to keep pushing you. Even if it's church, even if it's going on walks, working out really helped me get out of my feelings. Um, so that is something that I always suggest people to do is try to get outside, get some sunshine on your face, elevate your heart rate, you know, burn some calories. It never hurt anyone to burn a few calories. So, you know, try to keep living. You survived, so try to keep living, you know. Um, would be my biggest wish for everyone or anyone going through anything traumatic.
I love that. Well, I do appreciate you for being here today. And I know that you said so much to help me. And I know part of your story. So I can only imagine the hearts and lives that you're going to touch by sharing your stories. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
This
so much for
episode,
inviting me. Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me a platform to do so. I really appreciate it. You have helped me more than you realize and given me the closure that I also needed. So I appreciate that.
oh, you're welcome. Love you.
You too. Thank you.
This episode and all others can be found on our YouTube channel, Love Letter to Grief. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you or anyone in your circle is interested in penning a love letter to grief or appearing on our podcast, you can contact me directly at lovelettertogrief@gmail.com. Thank you so much, guys, for listening, and we'll see you next time on Love Letter to Grief.